For me, one of the hardest parts about working out as a parent isn't finding the motivation to work out, but it's finding the time, and it's combating the guilt you feel about taking time away from your family. Hi, I'm Tyler. I'm a father of two. I have two boys under 4, and over the past 4 years, I've learned how to work out consistently in a way that doesn't impact my kid's life and my spouse's life. So I've accumulated my 5 top tips, and I'm going to share them with you now. Tip number 1 is waking up early and doing your workouts before your family wakes up. For me, I've found that it's not necessarily feasible when you have 3 or 4 kids that are really young and they all have different sleep schedules. But when we brought our first son home, it seemed to be the best way that I could fit it in. When you have a young kid, their wake window is from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then they take a bunch of naps throughout the day. And if you're working Monday through Friday, most of us have, maybe a 9 to 5 type schedule or an 8 to 5 type schedule. You might only get to see them 30 minutes or an hour before you drop them off at daycare or preschool. So for me, getting that workout in before they woke up, I could see my kids in the morning and it didn't interfere with the evening routine and the whole bedtime, bath time ritual. And by the time you get them to sleep, do you really have the energy to work out after all of that? I mean, for me, the answer was no. Some people can do it at night, but I found if I did it in the beginning of the day, I had much more of a chance of staying consistent. A lot of people only exercise maybe 3 days to 5 days a week. So really, I was only finding 1 or 2 days during the work week where I could wake up really early. The other days I prioritized sleep, and then I would do a couple of my other workouts during the weekend when I had more time. Tip number 2, nap time workouts. So during the weekends, or if you're a stay-at-home parent, nap times are a golden time to get things done, whether it's cleaning the house, catching up with sleep yourself, or prioritizing some workouts. Now, not every kid sleeps for an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour naps. Depending on your kid's schedule, which can constantly change, you can do either short sessions or you can get your full workout in during those times. So for me, I kind of play it by ear. If I know a kid's approaching a nap time, I'll get my shoes on, I'll set up some stuff in the gym, and if I need a coffee, I'll make a coffee, and I'll kind of lay the whole groundwork so that as soon as my kid goes down to sleep, I can run down and get as much workout in as possible. Now, sometimes your kid doesn't fall asleep where you plan them to fall asleep. They're not on a monitor. Maybe they're in your car, maybe they're on a couch, maybe they're in a bassinet in a living space. And in those situations, you don't necessarily want to go down to the gym and not know what's going on because something could happen. They could wake up, get scared, and no one's around. So what I do in these situations, which I like to call nap trapped, is I'll get quieter equipment like a suspension trainer, resistance bands, even body weight exercises, and I'll get as far away as possible where I'm still in earshot of the kids. So what that basically looks like is, they're asleep. If they're in a car or something, I'll roll down the window, bring a couple pair of dumbbells, do some curls, or if in the living room, I'll kind of go out to the front room and I'll do some push-ups. And basically, it's not the most effective, you really can't get after it, but you're getting the extra volume in, you're getting some exercise in, and you're utilizing the nap time. So tip number 3 is kind of along the same lines of using quieter equipment, but for this instance, it's when the kids are awake, use safer equipment. If you have young kids that are crawling, they don't have a lot of good balance, you don't really want them in your gym. There's a lot of pinch points, a lot of metal edges, steel plates, lots of things that they can get hurt on. So what I do is if I'm working out when they're awake, I'll use safer equipment. And to me, safer equipment are things that don't have hard edges. So I could use something like rubber-coated dumbbells. I could use something like suspension trainers again, rubber bands again, calisthenic body training. Something where, if I bump them with my shoulder when I'm doing push-ups, it's not going to hurt them. If I drop a 45-pound barbell on their head, it's going to hurt them. So I think about this when I'm doing workouts when now they're not asleep, now they're awake. Doesn't matter if I make noise, but I want to make sure that I don't accidentally bump them when I'm doing my exercises. Tip number 4 is mini sessions throughout the day. And I've been using this a lot lately. When we only had one kid, I could do the morning workouts, and it worked out great. There was the occasional week where sleep wasn't going well at all, and I had to think of something different. But in general, I could do morning workouts. Once we had 2 kids, their sleep schedules are completely off of one another, and inevitably, one kid's sleeping well and the other kid isn't, and the parents are just always awake and never sleep. So I cut out doing the morning workouts, and now I do a lot of little 20-minute sessions throughout the day. And what that looks like is, it could be 1, 2, 3 times during the day. I'll do 20 minutes of whatever I can fit in. What I like to do is I like to do a full body workout. I'll just start, let's say a kid is napping. I only have 20 minutes, and I'll do a Romanian deadlift and try to superset that with something like a lunge. Get both sides of the leg done. That 20-minute session is over. Then a little later in the day, I'll notice, my youngest is asleep and my oldest is playing really well independently. Let me do a little bit more. So I'll do, let's say, a push-up, and I'll alternate that with a bent over row or a lat pull down or something like that. That's another 20-minute session. Then, end of the day, I'll grab some resistance bands, I'll do some bicep curls and tricep overhead extensions, and then boom. Throughout the day, I did 6 exercises, did 3 sets of each, got a good full body workout in, and I did it without really interfering with the kids' routine or schedule. All right, now my last tip, this is probably one of the biggest things you have to learn once you have kids, is to be flexible and to have a flexible training approach. So for me, what a flexible training approach or flexible programming means is, instead of having a very rigid hour and 15-minute workout, everything structured, all of your sets, all of your weights, you kind of have to play it by ear a little bit more. One of the things I like to do is count sets throughout the week. And throughout the whole course of the week, I'll try to get an effective amount of sets. And that could be different for anybody. If you're really in like a maintenance phase, it might only be like 5 sets of body part. If you're getting enough sleep and you can fit it all in, it might be something like 10 to 20 sets of body part. But really what I'll do is I'll just go down, see what my body feels like, and right on a whiteboard, I'll start hashing out sets by body part so I can keep track. That kind of gives me the flexibility in the beginning of the week. If I'm not really mentally in it, I can do a couple sets of arms, call it a day. And then by the end of the week, I'm like, well, I was really light on legs. Let me do a couple extra leg exercises to wrap out the week. That's one way to do it. Another way you can do is do like full body circuits. If you can get like 4 exercises that get, the upper and lower body, circuit them and do like 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds in like a 20-minute period. It gives you a lot of flexibility, because if you only finish one circuit and a kid wakes up, you at least hit all those body parts once, and then you can move on, call it a day. If they stay asleep, great, do 3 sets, and now you've gotten a really solid workout in. So that's another way to do it. Another way, if you really want to be on a program, schedule like a catch-up day. So if you do like, I don't know, let's say you have a 4-day-a-week full body workout training. A lot of times full body workouts will start with your compound lifts, and it'll end with your isolation training, your bicep curls, your calves, your abs. So what I would do is, if I ever got interrupted, I would start tallying up what those exercises were that I missed. And after my 4th day, it's the weekend, and I missed bicep curls, I saw I missed calf raises, and I saw I missed, ab wheel training, something like that. Then I'll pick a 5th day over the weekend, catch up those exercises. It's usually a shorter session, like 30 minutes, and then I can still move on with my program. I can still stay rigid and not feel like I missed out on anything, and not habitually missing calves or not habitually missing arms every single week. And then another thing I'll say with flexible programming is, maintenance phases are fine. I pulled a muscle in my neck earlier this year. And when I pulled that muscle, I really couldn't do a lot of upper body exercises for a while. It was really bad. So what I did is I just did 2 workouts a week for almost 4 months until I felt like everything felt good enough to train really hard. 2 workouts a week doesn't really sound like much, but when you've worked out a long time and then you go into this maintenance phase, you will maintain maybe about 80% of your gains for a really long time. So for me, just getting 2 solid full body workouts in is way better than just taking time off. Once you get back into a rhythm, your injury is healed, your sleep's better, switch back to doing more exercises and it'll come back very quickly. So in closing, if you're a parent, you want to consistently work out, but you don't want to take time away from your kids, these 5 tips are what have worked for me. If you want to see more content like this, please like, subscribe, comment. If you have anything that you want to see in the future, let me know, and I'd be happy to make a video on it. All right, guys, I'll see you at the next one.